A Shop for Killers 2 has officially come to an end after 8 intense episodes, and this time, the battle between Murthehelp and Babylon finally reaches its conclusion. But what makes the ending interesting is that not every Babylon member gets the same fate. Some are killed, some betray their own side, and others simply walk away from the conflict. Meanwhile, Jin Kusanagi, who thought he could control everyone, ends up losing almost everything. So today, let's look at the final fate of 9 Babylon characters and see who got what they deserved. And honestly, some of these endings were much more satisfying than I expected. 1. Jin Kusanagi. Let's start with the biggest villain, Jin Kusanagi. After betraying people around him, underestimating Jian, and repeatedly making terrible decisions, Jin is eventually betrayed and fired by Babylon. But his downfall does not stop there. When he tries to attack Jian, she kills him. Personally, I think his ending fits perfectly because Jin basically created his own downfall. He wanted absolute control, but in the end, nobody wanted to stand beside him. 2. Q gets a very different ending. After discovering the truth about her younger sibling's death, she decides to betray Babylon and help Jung Jin Man instead. Eventually, she returns home. I actually think Q's decision is one of the more emotional betrayals because she is not simply switching sides for power. She finally realizes that she has been manipulated and chooses to walk away from that life. Bale does not survive for long. He is killed by Jung Jin Man midway through the story, bringing an end to one of Babylon's most dangerous members. Considering everything Bale had done, his death feels like direct karma. But what makes it more interesting is how his actions continue affecting the story even after he is gone, especially because his involvement in Jay's death becomes part of Jin Kusanagi's manipulation. 4. JJ suffers one of the most tragic endings. He tries to stop Bale, but Bale kills him because Jay gets in his way. His death is then used as a tool to create conflict and manipulate the people around him. And honestly, this is one of the deaths that feels especially unfair because Jay was actually trying to prevent something worse from happening. 5. Jang In Seop. Jang In Seop makes a very different choice. After discovering the truth about the bus explosion, he immediately reports it to Babylon headquarters and even helps Jung Jin Man escape. This is basically the moment he chooses truth over loyalty to Jin Kusanagi. I think his decision proves that not everyone inside Babylon is blindly evil. Sometimes people simply need to see the truth before deciding what side they actually belong on. 6. KK also decides to abandon Jin Kusanagi. After receiving orders from Babylon headquarters to withdraw from the mission, K does exactly that and leaves the Korean branch. It may not be as dramatic as some of the other betrayals, but it shows something important. Jin Kusanagi has completely lost authority. Once headquarters stop supporting him, his people have no reason to continue following him. M also chooses Q's side. Instead of fighting against Jung Jin Man, M remains silent when Q cooperates with him and eventually betrays Jin Kusanagi. M then returns home with Q. Personally, I like that not every character needed a dramatic death. Sometimes surviving and leaving the organization is a more satisfying ending. 8. Marco follows a similar path. He helps Q during her actions against Jin Kusanagi and eventually leaves Babylon with Q and M. His decision further proves that Jin has lost control of his own people. By the end, the organization is no longer united behind him, and that isolation becomes one of the biggest reasons for his downfall. 9. Lee Yong Han. Finally, we have Lee Yong Han, who actually dies early in the story after being fired from Babylon. Jin Kusanagi is revealed to be behind his murder. His fate is important because it establishes just how ruthless Jin is. He is willing to eliminate even former Babylon members if he thinks they have become inconvenient. And ironically, that same attitude eventually causes everyone around him to turn against him. Looking at all 9 endings, I think the most interesting part is that Babylon does not simply lose because Murthehelp defeats them in battle. Babylon collapses because Jin Kusanagi destroys his own relationships from the inside. By the finale, Q, K, M, Marco, and Jang In Seop no longer support him, while Bale and Lee Yong Han are already dead. Murthehelp eventually reaches an agreement with Babylon's higher-ups, and the Korean branch is bombed after everyone has evacuated, leaving Jin as the only real target. Personally, I think that is a fitting ending for him. But now I want to know what you think. Which Babylon character had the most satisfying ending? Are you happy that Q and the others survived, or did you want more Babylon characters to face punishment? And if there is an A shop for Killers 3, would you want Babylon to return as the next major threat?